Lincoln since 2010 and going strong as ever. So what we're going to do here today is go through and walk you through. I'm going to explain some things about the presentation. I'm going to go through each page. So I want to make sure, while I'm doing this, that you also follow along with this to make sure that you, of course, practice this as much as possible, because the more confident you are, the better you're going to be in the house. The more you learn, the more you earn. And don't just rely on this video. Hey, you're going to want to know about cemeteries. You're going to want to know about funerals and, of course, life insurance. And you want to know the system, the processes of how they work. You want to know and teach yourself and learn this on your own as well. Don't rely on anyone except for yourself to master your own craft here. So you want to learn all that stuff so you understand the ins and outs of the business. So how much funerals cost. You can watch. We have videos on that. What funeral homes can and cannot do. You're going to want to know all that. All right. So again, you don't have to be an expert in all that, but you want to be knowledgeable. Again, the more you learn, the more you earn. So we're going to go through the presentation here and page by page. So make sure you are following along as I go. Okay. So before you actually start, the first thing you're going to do, you knock on the door, you get in the house, and we're already assuming you're in the home. Okay. And there's going to be a bunch of different scenarios that can occur. So in this section, in this segment, we're just going to assume that this is a door knock, and you got into the house and you're at the kitchen table and you've already built rapport, and now you're at that point where, okay, it's time to start getting into the presentation. So this is going to be a client that does not have any coverage, and it's just going to be a single person. That's not going to be a husband-wife couple. So as a recap, I'm sure you want to see, if you haven't watched the other videos, is your first to get in the door. I'll give you a little quick segment on that. Anyways, you simply knock on the door, knock, knock. Hey, how you doing? My name's Dan. I'm with Lincoln Heritage Funeral Advantage. You sent this in to us. Where's a good place we can sit down? Okay, sure, come on in. So you sit down at the kitchen table, if there's a kitchen table, and you start building rapport. So one of the key things when I'm building rapport is I talk about things that are in their house. Make some kind of personal connection with them before you move into the presentation, before you actually open it up. All right, you want to make sure that you've made them laugh or you made them smile. And when you've done that, now you've gained their trust, they like you, you like them, now you can move forward. So you knock on the door, knock, knock. Hey, my name's Dan, I'm with Lincoln Heritage. You sent this in to us. Where's a good place we can sit down? Okay, great, come on in. Again, I don't know if they have any coverage or not. All I know is that they're the person that they are, and we're about to go sit down somewhere. So if they say, here, sit down on the couch, you want to say, oh, I tell you what, I have some things I want to sit down. Why don't we go over here? And you start walking over to the kitchen table, if there's a kitchen table. You want to be in the most conducive environment as possible. So you want your presentation binder, and the client. That's the situation that you want in terms of setting up the stage for the sale. If there is a husband-wife couple and the husband's in the other room, you want to get him in there. Hey, you want to stop what you're doing just for a sec. This is really important. Why don't you come on in? I want to go over this with you because you're going to need to know some things. Get them both there. If one's sitting in the lazy boy and the other one's on the couch and you're on the couch, then hey, get them both. Rearrange the furniture if you need to. We call it nesting. That's like the term that we use to create the space that's most conducive to a sale. So remember, ABC, always be in control. You are renting that space. When you're in the house with the client, that is your office for that time. So take control, and there's nothing wrong with that. People love being told what to do. Alrighty. So I'm building rapport. One of the key things that we use to build rapport is, beautiful home here. How long have you lived here? Oh, 10 years. Okay. And what that is telling me is their longevity, their stability. All right. So that's what we're really looking to figure out and find out, is how good are they at paying their bills? And they might say, they've lived here. Oh, I've owned my home for 10 years. Great. Now they've owned their home. So you want to pay attention to little things like that. When you own your home, you have to have at least good credit. You have to come up with money, up front to put down on it. So they have more of a vested interest, to keep their home. So that's, of course, not necessarily, but usually a better client than someone that, oh yeah, I've been here 2 months. Oh, well, what brought you to the area? Well, I got evicted out of my last house. So that's a red flag right there. So moving into the presentation, now you built rapport, you talked about some things that are on the wall, now you've made them laugh or smile at you or with you, and now you're ready to, you got that awkward lull, and okay, great, let's get down to business now, okay? So right here on the page, as you'll see, is the front page of the presentation. So I'm going to pretend, I'm just going to role play with myself here. So let me ask you, Susie, do you have any coverage currently? Well, no, I don't. Okay. Well, I'm gonna make sure we'll get all that taken care of. We'll make sure that before we leave here today, we'll get you all set up, all taken care of. Okay. And I'm just gonna go over a few things here with you. I'm gonna tell you a little bit of who we are and how we're gonna help your family today. We have some free funeral planning and some family support services that no other company offers, and I'm gonna share that information with you. And then we're just gonna go through a few health questions to find the best plan that meets your needs and fits your budget, of course, as well. It's only going to take about 7 to 12 minutes or so. All right, sound good? As you nod your head, yes. Okay, great. So one of the key things, Susie, is that we pay our claims in 24 hours. Now, why is that important? And then you wait for a response. All right, and so you want this presentation to be conversational. You don't want it to be one-sided where you're doing all the talking. Obviously, I'm doing the talking today because I have no one to role play with except for this guy. So I'm going to be going over all that stuff. I'm like posing as what the clients typically say, but this is going to be a pretty objectionless conversation. You'll learn the objections as you grow in this business and ask your mentor for help. All right. So the questions are on the page right here. You don't need to remember what to ask because it's right there as a visual for you to say. So now let me ask you, why is that important? So the client's going to say, we're back in role playing now. The client's going to say, well, because we need the money, right away. I'm like, yes, absolutely. In funeral homes, when do they usually want to get paid? Well, they want to get their money. I'm like, yeah, they want to get their money right away. And a lot of times life insurance companies don't pay out, just like that. Do you know how long it can take life insurance companies to pay out? And then they might tell you a story at that point. Oh yeah, well, it took a couple weeks when my so-and-so passed away. Excuse me. So then you have to do more listening. If you need to, get the lead and take notes as they're talking of the bullet points so you don't sound dumb. All right. Ask a question that they've already told you, and I'm guilty of that, done that before. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes life insurance, going back into role playing now, some life insurance companies can take a couple days, sometimes a couple weeks, maybe even a couple months. So if it takes a couple months, what is your son or daughter going to do? How are they? What are they going to do? And then let them respond. So how would they get the money? Well, I don't know. All right, well, that's a problem, okay? And we're going to solve that problem here today. The fact that we pay out in 24 hours is going to give you peace of mind ahead of time, knowing that your beneficiary, your son or daughter, is going to have the funds available in their hand, probably before the funeral is even planned. And that's what we're really in the business of, paying claims. We're going to take care of your family here today. So, let me ask you, who would be in charge of all your final expenses? My daughter, Sydney. Okay. So we're going to make sure, we're going to make sure that we know that money's in her hand right away so she can go pay that funeral director because, again, they want their money yesterday. All right. Now, let me ask you, has she ever planned a funeral before? No, she hasn't. Okay, wow. So there's probably a lot of unanswered questions that she may have. And what's nice about that is that the plan I'm going to show you is going to answer all those questions, so she wouldn't even have to think about what to do or who to call or anything like that. Now, is she familiar with the what you're looking for? No, she's not. Okay. Well, what I'm going to show you again in just a sec is, with a simple phone call, everything's going to be mapped out. How nice would that be if all she has to do is make a phone call? It'd be pretty nice, right? Okay. And another thing you want to think about as well is, is Sydney, or I forget the name I used, is your daughter Sydney? Is she going to, does she know what the cost of funerals are right now? She's not. Okay. Well, I'll definitely go over that with you here in just a sec as well. So let me ask you, when was the last time you experienced a funeral? Well, my husband passed away about 10 years ago. Oh, wow. My condolences. Was there any kind of an insurance in place? No, there wasn't. We had to come out of pocket, this and that. And you're just listening now. So, what was there any kind of planning that you had in place for that? No planning. Okay, well, how did it go? Were there any problems that, came about? Oh, it was a mess, and they're going to talk. Now, you might have some clients that say, no, never experienced a funeral. Nope, never was planned. So, you just restructure it, to make it work, restructure the question. Well, what do you think would happen? How do you think this would play out if you didn't have this in place? And so going back to our client here, what would be so let me ask you, that was 10 years ago. What was the cost of that, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, it was $10,000. Okay, that's about right. So what do you think the cost is going to be 20 years from now? And the reason why we ask this question is because again, the goal is to get the client the most coverage they can qualify for. Everything is a lead up to the climactic moment of showing them the coverage and of course explaining the FCGS as well. Now, this is where we build value, because the client is in getting larger premiums. Now you have to do what's best for the client, not what's best for you. So, just because you don't want to be showing, if a client's looking for cremation, you're not going to show them $35,000. You're going to show them what's appropriate for their budget. And you have to find that out and use your own judgment. There's not going to be preset, oh, well, I'm going to show them this, this, and this. No, use your judgment in the house based off the conversation of how much coverage you're going to present to them. Okay, so now we're leading up to the rising costs here. All right, it's all a suspense. It's all a build up to the next steps here. So you're absolutely right. Going back into role playing now, you're absolutely right. The cost is definitely going to be more, and we don't know how much. For the past 30 years, the costs of funerals have been going up faster than inflation, and today they're about $15,000. So $8,000 for the funeral expense, and then you have $7,000 just for the cemetery expenses. So you're getting around $15,000 right there. Now let me ask you, Miss Client, are you leaning towards cremation or are you leaning towards burial? Now the reason why you ask this question is because you're again, the whole time you're asking all these questions is to determine what kind of coverage to put together. You're figuring out their financial situation. You want to know, of course, if they have a checking account, of course, as well, and we're going to get to that here in just a sec. Now, when it comes to the checking account, what some folks do in the very beginning, before you dive into the presentation, is they'll say, before I go into everything here, I'm jumping around. Before I show you stuff, there's just three main things that we need to know so we can make sure that we can help you today. One is that if you have HIV or AIDS, or two, if you have if you're, obviously it doesn't look like it because you're a nursing home or a care facility or something like that. No, you're not. Okay. And then if you have an active checking or savings, yeah, I'm good. I have that. Okay, great. Well, and if they say no, I don't have an active checking or savings, still go through the presentation. They might have some other method of payment. There might be a family member that could pay for it. So you still want to make sure that you build the value. You might give abbreviated version, but you want to still build a value because you can still get referrals from that client. So just because they don't have a checking account, okay, sorry, can't help you. See you later. get creative and don't, be there to help them, because they can, even if you don't get referrals, because they know what this is about and they see the value and the benefits of the funeral planning FCGS, then they can actually refer you business too in the future. So don't undercut anybody. If obviously you're going to know if they're in a nursing home, then you can't do much for them, of course. Go over a little bit, still build rapport with them, be professional. If they do have HIV or AIDS, then you can get them an accidental plan. If you have your health license, they could get an independent plan with the FCGS. At least they have that. And simply go through the benefits with them of how it's gonna. You can't quote them or anything, but you won't be quoting them because they can't get coverage if they have HIV or AIDS. But again, build rapport with them, connect with them, so you can get more referrals and help their family, because there might be someone in their family whose funeral they don't want to have to end up paying for. So make sure you don't just push them aside and just be kind of cold. So avoid that. Help them. Make sure if they answer no to one of those questions, still go through it. Okay. Anyways, so going back to the rising costs here. Now, are you looking for cremation or are you looking for burial? Most clients, I would say now it's about 50-50. So in terms of cremation or funeral. So let's just say it's a cremation. I'm looking for a cremation in this case. Okay, I'll show you both. So I'm looking for a cremation here. Cremation today, it's 2019, and they're about $4,000 to $6,000. Okay, but you're 50 years old, so let's say 30 years from now, in 2049, they're going to be $12,000 to $15,000. Let's say if they're looking for a funeral, based off of inflation, 3 to 4%. So this could be more. All right, and nowadays, $10,000 to $11,000 for a funeral today, and that's just the funeral costs. We're not even talking about the cemetery expenses. All right, that's of course more on top of that. And so then in 30 years from now, when in 2049, they're anywhere between $29,000 to $36,000. So that's like people's first year, the annual income, in some cases. So, Ms. Client, our goal today is to get you the most coverage that you can qualify for, but also something that's going to fit comfortably in the budget. All right. So, you know what the best kind of coverage to have is? What's that? It's the kind you can keep, and that's the affordable kind. So our goal today is to get you, again, the most coverage you can qualify for, but something that's going to be there tomorrow and something that's going to be there 20, 30 years down the road. And of course, some coverage is better than no coverage. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. You're going to use that later if they say, oh, well, I want 20 and I can't get 20, so I'm not doing anything. All right. So that's what you're talking about there on that page. So let me walk you through it without any explanations here. Going back to this page here. All right. So I'm very sorry for your loss. Did your husband have he didn't have any coverage? Okay, he didn't have any. Oh wow. So you definitely understand the importance of this. Was there any planning in place? No, there wasn't. It was a mess. Blah 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 blah. Okay. So what were how long what was the total cost of everything? Oh, well, it was about $10,000. Okay, great. Well, what do you think the cost is going to be, now? What do you think the cost is going to be 20 years from now? Wait for the response. All right, well, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be more. Today, a cost of a funeral can be $15,000, and it's going faster than the cost of inflation here. Funeral costs can be $8,000. A cemetery cost can be around $7,000 for combined total of $15,000 there. Now let me ask you: are you looking for a cremation or are you looking for burial? Oh, you're looking for burial. Okay. Well, today, just based off inflation, you're looking at $10,000 to $11,000. But you're 50 years old, so 30 years from now, they're going to be anywhere from 20 and 2049, anywhere from $29,000 to $36,000. That's a ton of money just for a funeral. That's sometimes people's annual income, So our goal today, okay, is to get you the most coverage you can qualify for, but also something that works for you, that fits comfortably in the budget. Because you know what the best kind of coverage you can have is? What's that? It's the kind you can keep, the kind that's going to be there tomorrow, the kind that's going to be there, 30 years down the road. And of course, some coverage is better than no coverage. And if down the road too, we may be able to, increase it if you need more as well. Okay. And this is where Lincoln Heritage comes in. Lincoln Heritage is going to provide all the solutions provide all the questions to all those provide all those answers to all the questions that I asked you earlier. And we're the number one final expense company in the country. So congratulations. You're in good hands, and I'll stick my hand out sometimes and shake their hand. We've been around since 1963. We're nationwide. Our headquarters is out in Phoenix, Arizona. Have you ever been to Phoenix before? No? Okay. Have you done any traveling in your time? Yeah, I used to go here, used to go there. Okay, all right, nice. Well, you want to go anywhere anytime soon? Oh, well, I really want to go here, blah, blah, blah. You're building rapport, throughout this at the same time, but you're also determining by asking that question, have you been to Phoenix? Oh, do you do any traveling? Have you done any traveling in your time? To determine how much AD&D you're going to give that client. And also, people that do travel, they have a little bit more extra money, discretionary income. So you want to keep that in mind, and that's why you ask. These questions are so important. All the questions pretty much close the client on. They are closing themselves by answering these questions. Okay, so again, going back to here and then rolling through. So that's the cost to in 2049 can be $29,000 to $36,000, and that's just based on inflation, and so it could be what? It could be more. Yeah, absolutely. And that's where Lincoln Heritage comes in. Okay, we're gonna answer all those questions for you, get everything solved here to make sure that when that time comes, your family, your daughter Sydney is taken care of. And we're the number one final expense company in the country, so you're working with the best, and so congratulations, you're in good hands. We're nationwide, and our headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona. Have you ever been to Phoenix before? No? Okay. Have you done any traveling in your time? No? Or let's say they say yes. Okay. Either way is fine. Okay. So this plan's going to go wherever you go, and our customer service is absolutely phenomenal. All right. So you're going to have me. I'm going to be your personal representative. If you ever need anything, call me. You can. I'm going to give you my cell phone. So let's say you need more coverage in the future. You can always get more coverage, assuming you qualify. And if let's say something happens financially and you feel like you have to cancel, then hey, you don't even have to cancel. Just call me and we can adjust things. We can lower the coverage, which will lower your payments, which means you'll have something, which is, of course, as we mentioned, is better than nothing, right? Right. Okay. And so if you ever need anything, you can always call our corporate office. Our corporate office is ran by live operators, and they speak English, so it is absolutely headache free, and no automated machines or anything like that, which is such a relief. Because even when I call my bank, when I talk to I bank with Citizens. You have Citizens as well? No, I have whatever. Okay. Well, even when you call Wells Fargo, you have to dial 1, you have to dial 2. It's a pain in the butt. But when you call us, Lincoln Heritage or corporate office, you'll always get a live person on the phone. So pause there. What I just did is I discovered that you have a bank account, and you always want to assume that they have whatever bank you use, and they'll be quick to correct you. So like, oh, I have Citizens. You have Citizens too, right? No, I have blah 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 blah. Oh, okay, well, same scenario. Or if they have a credit union, oh, well, they're much more personalized, but you understand what I'm getting at. So this is a real person that answered the phone, and they speak English clearly. Okay, this is just a filler page. Going back here to transitioning into the FCGS. So Lincoln Heritage is definitely a company that cares. I'm going to be your personal agent. If you ever need anything, let me know. We can always increase your coverage assuming you need more at that time. And if something happens to you financially and you feel like you have to cancel, you don't even have to cancel. You can just call me and we can adjust the coverage for you to make it more affordable. So we'll lower your coverage down, we'll lower your payments. That way you don't have to lose everything that you put into it, something's better than nothing, wouldn't you agree, right? Okay. And what's also nice about our home office is that you ever have to call them for, let's say, I'm out of town or whatever the case may be, you just get my voicemail and I'll call you back, of course, as quickly as possible, but you need something done with the home office. When you call, you'll talk to a live operator, which is such a relief, because nowadays, even when I call my bank, I bank with Citizens. You have Citizens as well? No, I have blah, blah, blah. Okay. And if they don't say anything, they usually don't have a bank account. Then say, oh, okay, well, who do you normally bank with? Well, that's none of your business. So then you're like, okay, no problem. And you're going to revisit that later on down the road. It's probably because they don't have a bank account. So, whenever I call my bank, it's headache. It's a pain in the butt. I have to dial 1, dial 2. So with this, with our home office, you call them, you talk to a real person, and they speak English, which is great. Now, what's also nice about this plan is it comes with the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society. This is there's some really great benefits to this that no other company offers. Okay, it's a society that's going to guard Sydney during the funeral. Okay, and there's 3 main points about this that I want to stress to you is that this was created by former funeral directors. Your daughter Sydney is going to have a team of experts that are going to be helping her through the process, and they know the ins and outs of the funeral business. This is also exclusive, so you have something now that nobody else has. So by saying that, time out, right? Pause. By saying that, you're creating exclusivity. People want something that other folks can't get. You're also letting them know that this is not just some concierge. This is the real deal. A team of experts are going to be working with them. Okay, so going back into role playing. So 3 really great things about this is that this is created by former funeral directors. So Sydney is going to have a team of experts that are going to be holding her hand through the process to make sure that everything goes smoothly and easily, and saving her time, money, and from all these unwanted stresses, because it can be pretty stressful, of course. And our goal is to make sure, to relieve, and I'm sure your goal is to take that burden off her shoulders. Now, this is also exclusive, so you have something now, and you have something now. It's assumptive. All right, you have something now that nobody else has, unless, of course, they have Lincoln Heritage Funeral Advantage. And this is absolutely free. Do you like free? Yep. So there's no additional cost for this, and this is going to save your family hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Now, you don't have to do this today. When your packet comes in the mail, again, assumptive, when your packet comes in the mail, you're just going to take this out and fill everything out, okay? Fill in your basic information here, next of kin, funeral service request, what funeral homes you want to go to. Now make sure you put down at least 3 because it gives us leverage, and I'm going to explain why in just a sec. If you want cremation, so this answers all the questions that need to be made, makes all the decisions that need to be made ahead of time for your daughter. So all she has to do really is just make a phone call. Okay. Now you don't have any other insurance, so you're going to put your final expense coverage here, but let's say you do get coverage maybe through your work. All right, then put that down here. So this adds value to what you already have. Military record, you weren't in the military, so just leave that blank. Flowers, music, what you want to wear, what to do with the pets, that's all mapped out. Okay. Now let's say we're on part B here. Now let's say something happens to you and Sydney goes to the funeral home, and the first thing the funeral director, they probably want to know is what? Wait for the response. Okay, that's right. They want to know if you had life insurance, and then they're gonna say, well, Sydney, you mind if I take a look at it just to make sure it checks out and everything's in place? Yeah, sure. Here you go. So if they see that you have a $20,000 policy, what do you think the cost of the funeral? What's gonna happen to the cost of the funeral? Right, it's probably gonna go up. Or magically, so we prevent that from happening. So by having this, Sydney won't even have to worry about unintentionally letting the cat out of the bag. What we'll do is, we'll keep that information in the dark, so the funeral home just knows what you're looking for, not how much coverage you have. So it provides consumer protection for your daughter, which is, of course, incredible. Okay. Now, when something does come up and something does happen, all Sydney's going to have to do is take this card out of her wallet. Once she takes it out of her wallet, she's going to talk to our team of experts. Now, if you don't remember anything else, just remember this. When something happens, should Sydney call the funeral home or call this number first? Right, call this number first. Here's why. Because if you start calling with the funeral home, you're going to get locked into the funeral home prices. What we're going to do is with one simple phone call, within minutes, within moments, Cindy will call us, and our team of experts will put your plan in place, and they are going to call these funeral homes here that you picked, and they are going to shop around. Here you go, let me zoom in there. Boom, we're going to shop around. And we'll say, hey, Smith Funeral Home, we see that you're charging, $15,000 for the funeral, but the Jones Funeral Home down the street's charging $13,000. So if the family's okay with going with that, with your competitor down the street, unless you want to match, magically the price comes down. So we just saved, your daughter a couple $1,000s. Just from shopping around. So it's a huge service that we provide here. Now think about who these 4 people will be, and I'll get their information from you in a little bit and let them know what to do once you give them the cards. So these will come to you, and then you'll distribute them to your family. I'll give them a call ahead of time and let them know how this plan works, so they make sure that we make sure that your family takes full advantage of all the benefits here. Now pause. So I just got 4 referrals. So when you call these referrals, these clients, you're going to go to their home and sit down with them and explain the benefits. Don't reveal who the beneficiary is. Don't reveal how much coverage they have. Don't reveal how much the initial or original client is paying. Keep their health information private. All right, but you're going to go through the same presentation, this here, and say, instead of talking about what this person with the membership card has, you're going to talk about what the client that referred you has, of how the plan works. So this is what your cousin Larry or your cousin Susie has. Da 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 da. Keep going through it. And then they're going to get a little bit jealous. All right, they're like, well, can I get something like this? All right, well, yeah, sure. Let me see what you qualify for, and we can go from there. Or you have to say, well, you know what? It's my job. I have to ask, do you have a plan like this for your final expenses? And if they say no, I say, okay, well, I'll tell you what. We'll see what you qualify. I'll get my health questions out here in a second. We'll go over some options for you. That if it makes sense, we can get you set up. If it doesn't, then hey, at least you know what your options are. That's why you want to get these referrals here, those 4 names. So when a referral sheet comes, you get the referral sheet out, write those 4 names down, call through them, and set up times to meet. Now, another thing that you can do as well is tell a story. Stories sell, facts tell. So in this case, what I do is I use a real life story that happened to me. And if you're brand new, you won't have your own stories yet. So instead of saying I had a client, you can say we had a client, as if our agency or our company, and use other people's stories, and that's perfectly okay. Just give examples. Especially when I have a tough client where I can't read them well, I say this. Okay, so we'll think about who those 4 people will be, and I'll get their information from you in a little bit, and reach out to them, let them know how this plan works. But what's also really unique about this plan is it's going to make sure that your policy goes unclaimed. And what I mean by that is this. I had a client, her name was Anna Marie, and she lived in Ambridge, and she was really nice, and she said, she just needed some more time. She wanted to think about it. I said, oh, okay, are you sure? Yeah, I just need some more time. I just need to think about it. I said, okay, well, call me, here's my information. And about 3 to 5 days later, her nephew called me saying, hey Dan, I saw your card. I'm her nephew. Did she get a plan with you? I said, no, but I can come out and I can help her out. He goes, oh, well, it's a little bit too late for that. And of course, I kind of knew what was going on, but I said, well, what happened? He goes, well, she passed away. I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She's such a sweet lady. She was in her 70s. And so she's such a sweet lady. Is there anything I can do to help? He goes, well, I don't know, because we've been looking all over the house and we don't know where we can't find any insurance documents anywhere. So I suggested, I said, well, at least do you know the name of the company? And they go, no, we don't even know the name of the company. So in theory, if she had coverage, that policy could go unclaimed because there's no way for the client to access it. Okay, so Ms. Client, because you have these cards here, you're not going to have to worry about that. Okay. that situation won't happen to your family and won't happen to Sydney, because all Sydney will have to do is take this card out of her wallet and call that number. Now, on a side note here, what that does, it also eliminates the additional, the objection of, let me think about it, because Anna Marie thought about it, and of course we don't want that to happen, but there's been plenty of times where clients have put this off, and they end up passing away, before they get the policy or before their payment scheduled. So there is a sense of urgency here, and that's what we're looking to express a little bit. So you're killing a couple birds with one stone, using that story. Moving forward here. Now, what's also nice about this plan, so with one simple phone call, all Sydney's going to have to do is take this card out of her wallet. She's going to talk to our team of experts, and we're going to put everything in place here and make sure everything's taken care of. Now, what's also nice about this plan is that this is a whole life plan. Are you familiar with whole life versus term life? And they go, yeah. Okay, well, just to reiterate, this is whole life is like owning your home. Do you rent or do you own? You own. Okay, great. So whole life is like owning your home. It builds equity and it's yours, okay? And your monthly, mortgage, it doesn't change unless, of course, you want to change something on it. Term life is temporary; it terminates. It's like leasing a car. When you lease your car, what happens to your car when the lease is done? You have to give it back. Well, what happens to the money? Do you get that back? Well, they keep it, right? You don't get that back, and that's what term insurance is. There's nothing bad about term insurance. It's just that it's not what you're looking for your final expenses, because most people outlive it. Actually, 1% of term life policies end up paying out. Maybe 5% at the most. So this is going to be here when your daughter Sydney needs it the most. So this is a permanent whole life plan, okay? And what you start at today is going to be your rate is locked in, and your benefits and your payments, they're never going to change because of your age or your health. So let's say you become less healthy down the road and you get some kind of disease or cancer or something like that, then we're not going to change your rates because of that, because you're locked in today, okay? There's no physical exam either, just a few health questions to see what you qualify for, and then I'll get my rate book, my calculator out, and we'll put a plan together that meets your needs and, of course, fits your budget. Sound good? Okay, great. So then that's it. You're done. That's the presentation. So then what you do is you get out your health questions. All right, you go through the health questions, and then here you go. So here's the health questions. You get this page out next and say, okay, great. So, in the past 2 years, do you have any tobacco? No. Okay, great. And then, okay, and if you know anyone that answered yes to these questions here, let me know. We can help them out, and we can help them out, because we can help people with cancer, heart problems, diabetes, things like that. Okay, so in the past 2 years, has the applicant ever been diagnosed with da-da-da? You've got the uninsurable questions out of the way. In the past 2 years, have you been diagnosed, treated, or taken medication for the following? And then you go through the health questions. So let them know, pause at some point in time, that, hey, if you know anyone that would answer yes to one of these questions, let me know. We can help them, because they're either paying too much, or they can't get any coverage at all, or they don't have any funeral planning. So I'll get their information from you in a little bit, and I'll reach out to them to see what we can do to help them out, okay? Again, okay, because what that does is two things. It puts the client's mind at ease if they have been declined before, and they are nervous that they might get declined again. So they go, okay, I'm so glad, because I have diabetes, and I was nervous you couldn't cover me, but that's great. Oh yeah. And then they might be perfectly healthy and be like, oh wow, okay, well, because we've been trying to get my mom coverage or my grandma coverage or my dad covered, and we've been having a really hard time. He keeps getting turned down. I'm like, okay, well, we'll definitely help him out, and then you keep going through. So then now, once you're done with this, then you simply take out, like, all right, great, well, you do qualify. What I'm going to do next is get my rate book out here and my calculator. Or if you're using the Secure app, this is when you make it automatically makes the calculations for you. But this is where you get what we call the money sheet. All right, so you're going to get this out at that point. All right, and you're going to write down the coverage amounts, and you're going to leave the premium blank. All right, and then you're going to explain that, and we'll do that in the other video. All right, so I hope that helps you guys. That's the presentation. It's very simple, very straightforward. All you got to do is really just ask those key questions on there, and the questions are what do the trick. And again, not every conversation that you have with every client is going to be the same. So sometimes they're going to volunteer information and you don't need to ask the question. So keep practicing, learn your product, learn the business, be yourself, be natural. You don't want to sound canned. You don't want to come off salesy. We don't want salespeople. All you're doing is just educating and helping them and making sure they're taken care of. So that is it. I hope this helps you guys, and if you have any questions, you of course can leave some comments or just reach out to me directly. It's fine as well. Take care.